Good afternoon, Facebook friends and family. My name is William Mitchell. I'm originally from South Boston, Virginia, graduated from Halifax County Senior High School. Eventually, I enlisted in the Air Force, and I served 10 years in the Air Force Band, last stationed at the Heartland of America Band off at Air Force Base, Nebraska, between 1998 and 2005, where I retired. For those of you who are not familiar with my story, I've started a GoFundMe campaign on my Facebook profile as well as on the William Mitchell Vocals Facebook page. And I invite you to participate and to visit that and to read exactly what this is all about. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And these are desperate times, not only for me, but for the country as a whole. And that's why I'm reaching out to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. And any of you out there who may have access or know of someone who has access to the Secretary, I'd like you to send and forward this video to him on my behalf. The reason being is that Miss Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth, made a special trip to the White House on my behalf, September 11th, 2023, just last year. I had been coordinating with Miss Lee between June and August of last year. She and her granddaughter, Dion Sims, I had been coordinating with them in detail about contacting the White House and getting information, if not to the president, to the vice president, or to some member of his staff who could be beneficial or instrumental in helping to rectify and correct my military record. And Miss Lee was very patient. Dion was very patient with me throughout this process. And ultimately, I coordinated with the White House Office of Public Engagement, letting them know that I was coordinating with Ms. Lee, and I coordinated with that office in order to secure a liaison for Ms. Lee when and if she did actually make that visit. Well, it turns out that she did make that visit September 11th, 2023. And when she made that visit and arrived at the White House, it came to my attention that she was turned away by White House staff. Now, to me, that's unacceptable considering Ms. Lee's stature and what she represents and what she's come to represent over the past several years. She's not only the grandmother of Juneteenth, she's received a Presidential Medal of Freedom. She's received numerous honorary doctorate degrees. She's very active both locally, nationally, and even internationally. And for her to be turned away when she made a special trip, at the time, 96 years old, on my behalf to coordinate directly with Secretary Austin, with Secretary Frank Kendall, and with Air Force Chief of Staff Charles Brown, to me that's unacceptable. And the reason it's unacceptable to me is that among the reasons I voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is their commitment and the fact that they prioritized racial equity. That's a very important priority in my estimation. And the fact that President Biden is running for re-election this year in 2024, I'm weighing my options before I cast my ballot. But the reason I'm disappointed specifically is the fact that Ms. Opal Lee was turned away when she made a visit to the White House on my behalf to meet and consult with the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of the Air Force, and the Air Force Chief of Staff. Now that's something that doesn't happen every day, and that's the reason that I'm asking you, all your friends, relatives, whoever you can find to help me get this information to Secretary Austin, because I believe President Biden is a man of good intentions. I believe Vice President Harris is a woman of good intentions. I believe Secretary Austin is an honorable man and a man of good intentions. The same with Secretary Kendall, the same with now the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Charles C.Q. Brown. If you could get this video to their attention so that they could help rectify and correct my military record once and for all, it won't be necessary to go this extra leg to petition the United States Supreme Court to make a correction in this regard. And so I'm asking each of you to do whatever you can to get this video out, and most importantly, to get it to Secretary Austin, because he's the one that has the position by regulation. He's the one who has the authority to get this done. Secretary Kendall has the authority as well. I officially applied for applications for correction of military records through the Air Force Board of Correction of Military Records, and those applications were denied. And so the next step is the Secretary of Defense. And in the process of appealing and elevating my application to the Secretary of Defense, it did not make it to his desk. So now I'm taking this desperate measure to get his attention so that we can get this thing rectified and we can get our country back on track. Thanks so much for your support and for your encouragement through the years. And just remember, it's something that I always fall back on. It's one of my favorite songs that I was privileged to perform during my time with the Air Force Band. Make them hear you. It's a choice that we all have. We don't have to sit back and be complicit with all that's going on. Take the step to make that effort to make a difference. And I'm doing this as a last-ditch effort. Hopefully, we can get this thing resolved politically, and we don't necessarily have to go the full extent of the judicial process. But if we do, I'm prepared to do that, and I'm ready to file my petition within the window that's been provided. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to meet and visit with you all under better circumstances in the future. But in the meantime, make them hear you, and remember, it can be done. Bye-bye.